Listen, at this point, Gen Xers are insane because obviously we are the only people out there that would spend this amount of money on cassettes. I just looked up the 10 most expensive cassettes that sold on eBay and I was shocked. And I think you're going to be shocked too. You're going to probably be offended and disgusted. I've got my whiteboard here. I'm going to reveal each one. It's going to be a lot of fun. And there's a bit of a theme emerging from this, so I'm going to talk about that too. So sit down, grab a cup of coffee, and let's talk about the insane cassette prices in 2025 and who's dumb enough to spend it. We are, Gen Xers are. I had an idea of just the stupidity that cassettes are going for when I've gone to places like Half Price Books, AC/DC Back in Black. Not even a new copy, a used copy was selling for 30, 50 bucks. So I knew it was a problem. I didn't know how much of a problem it was. I was legit at the dump. Yeah, I love going to the dump and getting rid of garbage from my house. Anyway, I was at the dump. A guy next to me was throwing out a bunch of cassettes and I told him, do you realize what these are going for? And he said, I don't care. If you want them, take them. So I got a bunch of not very good cassettes, a lot of country stuff, but as a joke, I'm putting a cassette in each one of my Cam Coffee subscription boxes. So if you're interested in getting a really terrible old country cassette, but some really good coffee and an exclusive Cam Coffee Club free coffee mug, then check the link in the description. Don't worry, I'm not going to talk about it anymore. And there is no sponsor on today's video. These are the 10 most expensive cassettes that have sold on eBay recently. Okay, let's get started. This one makes sense. Some of these make a little bit of sense to me, but not to most people. Number 10. It just pulled off the entire thing so you can't read it. I guess I'm gonna have to reevaluate the way I do my visual cues. Anyway, it was Metallica, Kill 'Em All. It was sold for $549. If you've ever watched the channel, you know that I'm a huge Metallica fan. So, I kind of understand this. To me, this kind of was, it didn't start the thrash metal, but it was the first thrash metal album that got some traction. I get this one. But for $550, here's the problem that I have with these cassette prices. For the money, you can go buy a really good Japanese pressing of this on vinyl. And the thing about vinyl is, even though it's not bulletproof like a CD, even though CDs aren't bulletproof, at least it doesn't have the degradation that these cassettes will have. To be fair, some of these Japanese pressings are more than $550. Number 9, there's nothing there. But what it did say before I peeled the tape off was, surprisingly, Blink 182, Take Off Your Pants and Jacket. That sold for $600. I'm not really into Blink 182, so I don't get it. I mean, I could see maybe some Green Day record going for more than this, but I had to look it up why this is significant because I'm not a huge Blink 182 fan. Apparently, it's a quintessential pop punk album that solidified Blink 182's mainstream success and captured the, okay, whatever. Shockingly though, Blink 182 shows up on this list again. The only artist that got 2 spots in the top 10 most absurd cassette prices recently sold. Also, please put it in the comments which one of these records released on cassette is the most offensive to you based upon price. Number 8, Alanis Morissette, Jagged Little Pill, which this one I don't get either. I get it because this is one of the best-selling records of all time, but I don't get it because it's one of the best-selling records of all time, which means there's likely to be way more of these new old stock Jagged Little Pill cassettes out there. But it sold for $650. I also did a little bit of research into what I think, who cares what I think, but what I think would be a better buy from at least a rarity perspective. Instead of buying that Blink 182, I probably would have bought some, well, Green Day on vinyl, Japanese vinyl, or a really good pressing of Green Day. For Alanis Morissette, you get Liz Phair's Exile in Guyville from 1993. A lot more rare, record. If you're actually into this for collecting, and that's the only explanation that people are spending this kind of money, is because of collecting. And most people collect stuff that's actually rare. And Jagged Little Pill, I don't think is actually rare. Number 7. Nope, this one. There we go. Def Leppard, Hysteria, $750. If you're my age, everybody had this cassette. It was sold everywhere. Again, another reason why I'm confused about this one. Not to take anything away from this record, because it's awesome. I used to sing Love Bites all of the time through my stereo. And that's when I discovered I was not going to have a career in music singing. I don't think it's a mystery why this record was popular, but personally, I would go for a first pressing. There's a theme going on. I would buy vinyl instead of this. I would go for a first pressing of Appetite for Destruction or something like that. Number 6. Again, I kind of get this one too. You can read it right there. Just kidding. Nirvana, Nevermind. Cassette just sold for $974. And there's another one currently being sold on eBay for $350. Again, I can kind of understand this one because this was a really important album historically. But this was also one of the most widely distributed albums historically. I would just buy it on vinyl. Because I have bought it on vinyl, but something rare on vinyl. The problem with buying vinyl from this genre is there wasn't a lot. It wasn't a priority to release these records on vinyl because that ship had sailed by 1990. But you tell me, what would you spend $974 on? Now, bear in mind that you can't just say, well, I'd buy a whole stereo. What do you think is worth $974 from a collector perspective? Ultimately, that question's kind of silly because the collector market is crazy. But humor me and tell me what you think $1,000, what you think you should spend $1,000 on instead of Nirvana Nevermind on cassette. Number 5. Oh, this one actually, you can almost see some of the writing. Straight Outta Compton by NWA, and this is going to start a reoccurring theme on this list. $1,000, but the best offer was accepted, so we don't know exactly what it sold for, but it was listed for $9.99. Huge record, very significant record, because this really kind of brought gangster rap into the mainstream in the, I think it was the late 80s. This was the cassette also that we all hid from our parents because as soon as our parents found out some of the lyrics on this, well, they cracked down on us. So there was a tape trading underground with me and my friends. It included this record, Straight Outta Compton. It included 2 Live Crew. Obviously that one. Smuggled in a gym bag or 2 from person to person. We even had to smuggle around some of the heavy metal stuff, which really from a lyrical perspective wasn't super offensive or as offensive as a parent would find Straight Outta Compton or 2 Live Crew. However, the Satanic Panic was going on and my parents thought that Ozzy Osbourne and Metallica were going to turn me into a Satan worshiper, which never quite happened. Number 4, again, I was extremely surprised at this one. Nope. Number 4, another Blink-182 album. Cheshire Cat just sold for $10.99, $1,100 for a Blink-182 cassette. Blink-182 must have a rabid fan base that I'm not aware of. Number 3, The Chronic by Dr. Dre. And this is where we start getting into some crazy money. $1,500. One of the reasons why this record is so important is I guess it launched the career of Snoop Dogg, which is a little bit of foreshadowing for this list. Now, the difference between a lot of the pop and heavy metal stuff is that most of the hip hop stuff was released on vinyl. So again, that would be my choice. I would go try to find this on vinyl instead of buying it on cassette for $1,500. Even, okay, let's say you find The Chronic for $200 on cassette just because you want to have it. You have $1,300 left over to buy some really good vinyl. Number 2. Snoop Dogg, Doggy Style, $2,750. I don't know much about hip hop. I listened to it. This was going on when I was in college, so it was constantly being played. I listened to NWA, listened to a lot of Public Enemy, but I didn't really know the background of hip-hop or the historic significance of hip-hop nearly as much as I understand grunge and heavy metal. Apparently, it cemented G-Funk's dominance in hip-hop, and I don't know what that means, but if you do know what G-Funk in hip-hop means, please put it in the comments. At this point, I don't even know what to say, because you could take a vacation for that. You could go down to Mexico, all-inclusive, take the whole family, go on a snorkeling or even a scuba diving excursion, see some sea turtles, try to say that 5 times really fast, and buy a bunch of Snoop Dogg CDs and a system to play them. All right. Doesn't matter though. What I put value on isn't what other people put value on. I think that's the takeaway here. None of us are wrong. Number 1, Ready to Die by the Notorious B.I.G. Prepare yourselves for the price. $6,500 for this cassette. I get it. He's dead. And I'm not happy that he's dead, but it seems like people that die, well, there's a premium put on all of their stuff. So an artist that has passed away, which is their debut album that's sealed on cassette, I can kind of understand it. But which one surprised you the most on this list? I think the ones that surprised me the most were the Blink 182. Hip-hop rabid fan base. Grunge rabid fan base. And the interesting thing is, there's only one grunge record on this whole list. Alanis Morissette, I can kind of understand too, but obviously hip-hop dominated this list. So there are some legitimate things that I can comprehend why they're selling for this price. Some true rare stuff, like there's a Korn promo tape from 1996 that I found. That was going for about $1,500. So this wasn't something that was actually in mass print. This is truly a limited run. There was a Michael Jackson recording on DAT, and there's no degradation in DAT because it's a digital format. So I can understand that too. But why, Gen X, are we spending all this money on cassettes? The common thread here, every single one of these records was popular when I was a kid, or the seminal moments in my coming of age. Pretty much everybody that's, I don't know, 45 to 60 today remembers these records. And what is another thing that 45-year-old to 60-year-olds have today that they didn't have back then? Money. So maybe this is a making things right. I did the same thing with a box set from Led Zeppelin. When I started the channel and a little bit of money started coming in from the channel, I bought that box set because in 1990 I lusted after it and I couldn't afford it. It was hundreds of dollars even back then, so it was a big deal. So I get it. I bought it. I bought some other expensive stuff too, but they're normally new box sets, like this one. This is the new Metallica box set for Load. The thing about this though is it has, I don't know, like 12 vinyl records, 4 CDs, a bunch of cool stuff. So even though that's expensive, I understand it. It's about $300. It's obviously about nostalgia. It's about FOMO. It's about scarcity, identity. I don't know though, because if you're collecting vinyl, you can at least display it. And then when somebody comes in to your house, which I never have visitors, but anyway, when somebody comes into your house, you can be like, oh, you can tell a little story about the vinyl record. A bunch of cassettes on your shelf or your desk doesn't have like that impact that a wall full of vinyl would have. So I don't truly understand it. Now, I will buy cassettes of new releases because there's a lot of records that are being released now that are also being released on cassette concurrently. Metallica Black Remaster, bought that on cassette, bought And Justice for All on cassette, so new cassettes. Because for $10, it is kind of cool to have it on the shelf, but $10 is a lot different than $6,750. I go into a lot more detail about why I think cassettes are back in 2025, and it's a very popular video. I will link it up here or up here, I never know. But you should check that out. In the comments, tell me why you think people are spending $6,000 on cassettes. Thank you so much for watching. Like and subscribe. So don't binge watch anything on Netflix or Hulu. Binge listen maybe to that $3,000 cassette that you're not going to open up because it's apparently an investment now. But buy the same copy on CD and listen to it a whole bunch, or vinyl. Thank you so much for watching. Fill your soul with happiness with music.